Hello, internet friends. My name is Babe. Welcome to the Battle for Azeroth. First past look at the Fury Warrior. And yes, before you even type it in the comments, I know that Fury hasn't had a ton of changes, but we need to get baselines for how it's changed and what it looks like going forward. And the biggest thing, the biggest overarching thing we talked about today on the live stream for testing Fury Warrior was the legendaries, most of the Helm Pants combo being removed, obviously, and we don't know if we're going to get any of those perks back on Azerite gear. The spec is a fair bit slower, but as I will show off, it still isn't that slow. We talked about that today for a little bit, and obviously the major execute spam synergy is gone now too, because you don't have all of that artifact trait mumbo jumbo. And we have some suggestions and things. We found a couple of interesting bugs over the course of the stream today, and then I have some new math that I can show off. That's the changes. But of course, if you're new to the channel right here on YouTube, you hit that subscribe button down over there in the corner, I think, and keep up to date with all of the testing that is yet to happen. The first passes still continue, of course, 24 more specs to go, and then the second pass, hopefully with Azerite gear in the future. You can go check out the actual Twitch stream where all of this happens live to give your input if you'd like. Or you can go check out the Twitter and let me know if I did anything wrong. Or you can keep up to date on when things are happening because I post on Twitter quite a bit. But all that is linked down below. It's not your first time on YouTube, I don't imagine, so you know what to do. But the entire testing was about 2.5 hours or so, and it was truncated due to the fact that the servers went down and a new build came out today, because it was delayed, apparently. And I was like, oh, Fury Warrior changes. No, not really. There was a crazy string of changes around Berserker's Rage and the talent Outburst, but nothing changed. It was just nothing. So here are a couple little things I'll wrap up on the start here, and we'll go over sort of the basics of what has and hasn't changed for your Fury Warrior. And yes, I am a straight back brother. Look at that orc. He's so pretty. He's just so damn handsome. All right, I don't even play Horde, but the straight back orcs are just perfect. Now, you'll see when we go downstairs and hit the target dummy, when you're in combat as a straight back chiropractic orc, you still have the exact same attack animations, just when you're emotes and you're walking around, you're standing upright. So that's about all it really changes, to be honest. But big, huge change baseline here. Mastery unchanged, Titan's Grip, health bonus, and the dual-wielding two-handers unchanged. However, in Rage, the attack speed amp was reduced from 100% attack speed to 50%. Mostly just a damage scaling change because of the damage changing across the board. But the huge one there is that the time that your Enrage window lasts is up to 6 seconds from 4. So that is almost 2 more global cooldowns in the Enrage window. And if you don't play a Fury Warrior or you're unfamiliar with how Fury Warriors work, they are very much a GCD-locked builder-spender that revolves around hitting Rampage at high, if not capped, Fury and dumping a lot of damage into essentially what could be referred to as a Colossus Smash, sort of Judgment-esque window. It's in the Enrage window. Because when you're enraged, you're auto-attacking faster, doing more damage, generating more rage passively, taking more damage, of course, still. That is still a part of the core class fantasy. But then your mastery is that all damage you deal while enraged is stronger. Just all damage. So anything you can do inside these windows, or any way you can finagle more abilities or larger abilities or things of that nature inside the enrage window, that is how the Fury Warrior plays. It's build a lot of rage, spend a lot of rage, and keep building a lot of rage to spend more rage. It's very, very back and forth being in this enrage window. And there are other ways to sort of proc enrage and activate enrage, which we'll go over again, just as a refresher, of course, because there are some different combinations that came up today. But that's a huge change. I remember back testing in Legion that the enrage window was 4 seconds, and then it was the more haste you had, the lower the enrage window was, because as your GCD lowered, it proportionally lowered the enrage window. So it kept it same, but now with it being 6 seconds, you quite literally just get more time in the enrage window. And there's even some ways that you can sort of roll the enrage window continuously and stay in it for up to 18 to 20 or so seconds, depending on some RNG elements. With it being only 4 seconds on live, that's very hard to do. And you really only get 2 or 3 globals inside of the enrage window. Now you can get 5 or 6, depending on your actual haste or heroism windows or whatever, right? Or if you're actually hitting Fury Slash, it's a lower GCD, etc. But that is the same. Another big one to go over is Whirlwind and the Meat Cleaver effect. And this, by itself, makes some different talent choices possible, I think. That the tooltip still currently says that Bloodthirst and Rampage work as the +4 additional targets. It is for 40% damage, down from 50. Slight number tune there, but the tooltip is actually wrong. So it actually is... Oh, I almost messed that up. The tooltip is wrong, and it actually is Raging Blow. Raging Blow is now your AoE cleave ability after the Whirlwind window. And why that is additionally significant is because Raging Blow, regardless of the talent, Inner Rage or not, right? Yeah, Inner Rage. You are going to be always hitting either with really strong Raging Blows on their little cooldown, or you are always going to be utilizing your Enrage window, giving you a much better synergy, I would say, than Bloodthirst. So Bloodthirst used to cleave, but since Bloodthirst was always on a cooldown, you wouldn't really be able to weave in like Whirlwind, Bloodthirst, Whirlwind, Bloodthirst, maybe? But now, without taking Inner Rage, you can quite literally just Whirlwind and Raging Blow, and then Whirlwind Rampage, and then Whirlwind Raging Blow, Whirlwind Raging Blow. Because again, 6-second window. You have more time to do that. And every Raging Blow in the normal version of it is going to be Unshackled Fury. So that is a pretty good baseline change. At least the feedback I got today on stream was positive. So Rampage is still the same. Rampage is still also a very weird ability that if you don't know, Rampage still acts like a melee dot that once you start casting it, it doesn't matter where you go, the target will still take the damage because you basically cast this invisible dot behind the scenes and it keeps going. But I think the change with Raging Blow instead of Bloodthirst, you don't gain more rage because you're hitting the multiple targets. Just casting Raging Blow generates 5 rage. Obviously casting Bloodthirst generates 10. And Bloodthirst does barely hit stronger than Raging Blow baseline. Just barely. But again, it's a cooldown thing, right? Bloodthirst can only ever happen so often, versus Raging Blow has no cooldown baseline. You just hit it whenever you're enraged. And other talents that enrage you, or ways to keep staying in the enrage window, a la Recklessness. Recklessness was buffed today as well to last 6 seconds. So that, of course, that's the same for the Prot Warrior. They have Recklessness as well. Rec is removed from arms. They have Colossus Smash as their main cooldown. But in this regard now, Rec and the Enrage window are synced. Outside of the fact that Rec is still on the GCD, right? So it just gives you a little bit more time, I suppose, versus the other way around, where you'd get in the Enrage window and then pop Warcry, because you're still going to lose a second regardless anyway, because it's on the global. I feel like Recklessness should be either off the global, which would be too powerful for macroing, or it should have at least the same global cooldown as Furious Slash, having a 0.75 global, because Furious Slash is very much this rotational builder, almost, because it builds a buff anyway. Rallying Cry is back, renamed from Commanding Shout to Rallying Cry, as it should be. Raging Blow is still the same as it works. Pummel, Taunt, of course, Piercing Howl, Spammable Movement Speed Snare for 10 rage, Intimidating Shout, Heroic Throw, Heroic Leap. Furious Slash was buffed to do 20% crit on your next Bloodthirst, up from 15. Now, it still stacks 6 times. I'm going to assume that is just a relic of the live version, which stacks at 15 times 6 to give you 90% crit. Now it's 20 times 6, which is 120% crit, which doesn't make any difference. Like, it doesn't actually do anything, because it does stack properly, but once you're at, 4 or 5 stacks, you're guaranteed a crit on your next Bloodthirst. So why does it keep stacking that high? Probably just a relic of the current build. So that'll probably be fixed to 5 stacks. Execute is still baseline at 25 rage. And again, all your execute perks are gone, so execute does have a different feel to it now, where you only will get so many and they only do the same amount of damage each time, more or less. Enraged regen is the same, charge is the same, bloodthirst is also still the same. Outside of the heal, let me double check that actually. I think the heal is the same. Yep, that is still the same. And the only other baseline change is you have Battle Shout now. So you actually have your sort of Ray utility back, even though it should just be an aura, because you're going to have to rebuff people all the time that die, which isn't a big deal, right? It brings back that feeling of the stronger together, even though I, as a Mythic Raider, don't really care for it. I feel like just let us keep going, and if you res someone in combat, you don't have to worry about buffing int and fort and X and Y and Z at the same time and have everyone do it, and if one person doesn't, that one person is just suddenly weaker again outside of losing their food buff or their augment rune or whatever. Just meh. The only other big change we're trying to figure out is rage generation. Let me know in the comments down below this is the same as it is on live, because we found out that it's basically 6 point something, 6 point X with decimal point for any main hand auto, and offhand is 3 point X. So sometimes your auto attacks are 4 rage or 3 rage because of the decimal point, and then your main hand is either 6 or 7, which averages out to be about 9 to 11 rage every 3 seconds without the enrage window being factored in. But remember, because you auto attacking a little bit less, 50% auto attack speed down from 100%, but the enrage window lasts longer, the rage generation change might just come out in the wash and not be a huge deal. But keep that in mind, auto attack oriented stuff. Hello, fellow Fury Warrior. But it might be a little loud down here. More people have the alpha now, so we get a little bit more folks testing. And Borealis still does not have any freaking target dummies. So I don't know why Borealis just doesn't want to have target dummies, apparently. But let me see. Build-wise, I have a couple things talented here. I have Bladestorm talented down here. We talked about this a lot today, that it should just be Odin's Fury. Bladestorm should be for arms, and then the Ravager version, you should have Odin's Fury for Fury, which is basically Bladestorm on a global that does the initial fire damage, then the fire damage dot over 4 seconds. So it could be almost identical in overall damage, but Fury doesn't feel good with a channeled ability. That's just maybe me and all of the feedback we got today. However, remember, Bladestorm is 6 seconds reduced by haste. Enrage window is now a full 6 seconds, so Bladestorm does fit in completely into that window. Now you don't have to worry about the fact that Enrage only lasts for 4 seconds, so you have to Enrage, then you can Bladestorm, but then you only get 3-ish seconds of your Bladestorm being empowered. Now the whole thing is empowered for the entire duration, much easier, again, because of that small Enrage window change. Dragon's Roar is unchanged, and we have I have a big feedback, like half a page suggestion about the whole Odin's Fury Bladestorm, or moving Bladestorm to compete on the actual AoE tier, just tune its damage down a little bit, or take Dragon's Roar out, or take Dragon's Roar and make it be a enrage effect, where instead of having this extra 6-second window of 15% damage, make it just enrage you. So it becomes a rotational enrage on demand. The only other talent that does that is Outburst still, and the only way we think Outburst is going to work is sort of in a bursty AoE sense. So Fresh Meat, unchanged. All these talents are mostly unchanged in relation to each other, with just barring what they have to use with the Fury Warrior now. They haven't really had any talent changes, but Endless Rage, Outburst, Inner Rage, and we don't take anything else. We're just, it doesn't matter really, right? We could take Carnage, I guess. So you can also take Bloodbath for this build, I think. But we were thinking about this build that has more rotational on-demand AoE. And instead of, you can take Reckless Abandon for this then, I guess, at the same time, is that Outburst is never really used on live, really ever. It's just Wrecking Ball or Avatar, right? Which is why I suggest that Bladestorm should be where Avatar is. And then Avatar gets removed, and then just put Odin's Fury there or something. Or, you know, Avatar gets changed. I don't know. Because Wrecking Ball is way too good and too easy and just too rotational and adds a little bit of fun. But Outburst with the 6-second change to enrage, does give you a little bit more AoE potential, possibly. Just for being able to have more burst windows for AoE packs, maybe. Because then you time that right into your... Well, that was Reckless Abandon, though, doing that. And the fact that we again have Carnage right now, it could help get you a little bit more AoE on a shorter cooldown, because obviously Wrecking Ball may or may not happen. And Avatar is a long form cooldown at 1.5 minutes. The only talent on this tier that gives you AoE or cleave is Outburst. And you can sort of delay your Bloodbath to always sync up with your on-demand use of enraging yourself. Because then you could just do one of these. You could hit your that up, and then you go into that, into your one of these, one of those, one of those, one of these, one of those. But then it desyncs automatically from your Reckless Abandon, but then you could just do that right back into it if you need to. So maybe desyncing them forcefully. This is the only build we really talked about on the stream today that made sense, is that you have to sort of combine Outburst with Bloodbath, and then you get this, the Bloodbath AoE-ish rotation, and then you have Reckless Abandon comes up with your Battlecry, and then you do like a Battlecry AoE double Rampage rotation. Because otherwise Wrecking Ball is just too good. So we're talking about pacing for the Fury Warrior as well. And I did this build earlier with the Carnage, Frenzy, Reckless Abandon, Endless Rage. So Endless Rage giving you 30% more rage on your auto attacks does amplify your rage to be about 14 every 3 seconds. Say 2.5. Again, you gotta factor in your enrage window. But this build doesn't feel too bad if you want to see for pacing wise, because a lot of the talk today was about pacing and how slow. Let's get Frenzy up all the way, actually. How slow Fury kind of felt. That's the wrong button. And there is some maintenance with Frenzy, but that huge amount of continuous haste all the time, again, putting Wrecking Balls into the enrage window, most likely. I'd imagine that's what you do with them. When you get the proc, you kind of hold it. I didn't hold it that time because I saw it light up. The damage difference is extreme, so don't do what I just did, obviously. Wrecking Ball follows into the enrage window. Keep building that rage. The rotation feels just fine. I don't think really many people have played with Frenzy on live right now to know what it feels like, because everyone just plays Enrage or Bloodbath, I feel. I think Bloodbath is required with the current tier set, I was told. So, but this is pretty fine. And because the 6-second window on Enraged now, see how often I stay enraged almost continuously? Now that's with Carnage and Frenzy, and of course Frenzy fell off because I looked at my talent list. But it feels pretty okay. It feels pretty fine to me. Get that Wrecking Ball into the end of Recklessness there. Again, I don't know what Fury Warrior feels like on live currently with the helm and legs. It could feel ridiculous, but the pacing-wise, if you want to go for a really focused tunneling auto attack, rage-based build, that doesn't feel that bad. That doesn't feel that bad. Obviously, Massacre is still here for the fights that have lots of execute uptime. So Massacre still works in the same way. We'll actually take Inner Rage for this one. We'll keep Endless Rage, and we'll just keep Wrecking Ball. We can't really do any execute testing unless we go over here and attack this guy. He takes 100,000% damage, so do not really look at the damage numbers as a matter thing. It's a level 1 dummy that is the morale booster dummy. You're doing great. So you can still get a lot of executes, and you get like the execute Massacre synergy, of course. Endless Rage helping with that. Wrecking Ball just feeling good, and Reckless Abandon just getting you that starting amount here. Or not. There we go. Due to the fact that he heals really quickly for some reason. There's a free proc. You just don't have to build a lot of rage overall, though. There's a Massacre proc. There's another Massacre proc. We're still in the enrage window there for a moment. There's a Massacre proc. The RPPM on this, it's not actually RPPM, sorry, it's the crits, rather. Crits on Wrecking Ball is about, I was gonna say Wrecking Ball has about 3 times haste, I believe. It was about 3 times haste, so it procs about 4 to 5 times a minute. And because, again, it's free damage when you're sitting there. And also at the end, tail end of the enrage window, there's that. Massacre into an execute, into a massacre, into a battle cry to that one, so we get a lot of executes here. You'd have to weave in. It's a lot of wasted damage, I would imagine. So that build is still there, but again, there's no Juggernaut anymore, right? There's none of that execute stacking madness that you can do. You're just gonna keep sort of weaving back and forth. Inner Rage just feels really good there because it's always an on-demand, give me more rage button, versus you just really can't hit it all the time during an execute window. So Wrecking Ball is still there to help that with that too, because it's a free global while you auto attack, and you get that rage back. And then Frothing Berserker is very much still a thing. This build, or War Machine or Endless Rage, depending on the encounter, is still very much a thing. The Frothing Berserker window takes a weird amount of extra time to land on. So when you are sort of building, because of the rage changes, this build does sort of slow down a bit. But with the slowdown, do you need it to... You do more damage in the window anyway, because you are tacking on the Frothing Berserker synergy there. And of course, the full synergy, I suppose, here is that you do one of these, and then you do that into a battle cry. I'm gonna say battle cry because it's called on live. But you do that right into your recklessness at the tail end there. So you do your rampaged Frothing Berserker. So that's still very much there. This build, obviously, you see is a little slower. You definitely have to hit some more Furious Slashes. But it's still definitely there. I don't know how much faster Fury feels on live. To me, this just feels fine. Maybe the auto attack and then do one of these and then do one of those. So that is still definitely a thing. Dragon's Roar, we talked about that a little bit on stream. It just feels... If you're going to AoE stuff, you're going to Bladestorm it. If you're going to just do Fury Warrior things, you're going to Reckless Abandon. Because now Reckless Abandon gives you 2 more seconds like it does on live, but with Enrage lasting 6 seconds, you get 8 seconds during that one. So you build to 100, you spend to put yourself in the Enrage window, you Recklessness, Battle Cry, which still says Battle Cry lasts 2 seconds longer. Just a tooltip error, that's probably why I said it too. Then when you're in the Enrage window, then you would Battle Cry into a Frothing Berserkered, guaranteed full crit rampage, right? And then even if you could rebuild back up because you have 8 seconds, then it could be very possible to build back up in time. But it's just damage stacking in that window, because Frothing Berserker is 6 seconds and Rage is 6 seconds. Let's take Reckless Abandon, gives you 8 seconds, so not sure. Inner Rage looks really good because of the change to Whirlwind's Meat Cleaver as well. Keep that in mind, because now your Inner Raged Raging Blow is 100% stronger, and if you're also in the Enrage window, that is going to be even more AoE. So we'll just do it right here like this. So then you do a Rampage, back to a Whirlwind, back to a Raging Blow, back to a Whirlwind, Bloodthirst, Whirlwind. I should have already done it. I didn't need to do that again. I had a stack of it already. No weak cores. So that still feels totally fine. And because of the guaranteed additional cleave damage you have from it, because it does more damage, but once you ever get into the Enrage window, of course, get even more damage in that window because of the 100% extra tooltip plus your mastery. But that's really about it. Utility-wise, I have to bring this up. Warpaint is obviously still here to make you take the 15% increased damage, not 20. Because now that it lasts longer, you will probably take more damage. And because you saw in multiple different builds, you're in the Enrage window much more often, almost just passively. So that's Warpaint. Bounding Stride's the same. Furious Charge still has the Bloodthirst heal on it. Double Time and Stormbolt are still here as well. But you lost Shockwave. Arms Warrior lost Shockwave. Fury Warrior lost Shockwave. Because they're reducing the amount of CC in the game, at least in the AoE form. You still have Stormbolt, right? So you're ranged, 30-second cooldown, 4-second stun. But Impending Victory. Now, this is for Fury, you have to take Impending Victory because you don't get Victory Rush. And people brought up on stream, like, why doesn't Fury get Victory Rush too? It's because Bloodthirst heals baseline, right? Excuse me. Bloodlust heals baseline all the time, but now you can actually just talent into Impending Victory. If there are fights, say, like Agrimar, Mythic Coven, Mythic Argus, these fights where you're tunneling bosses for so long but have a lot of ridiculous damage, Double Time's not going to do anything for you. It's more mobility. And Stormbolt doesn't do anything for you at all. So, and then neither would Shockwave. But now in this tier, because all you have baseline is Enraged Regeneration as your only main defensive cooldown other than just healing with Bloodthirst passively, you do, of course, have that 15% more HP baseline, etc., like you always have, right? Other DPS around this level only have like 15 to 17,000 HP, so the 15% increased maximum health is there. But if you're taking 20% more damage more often, or 15% in raids most of the time, right? You can now just have, basically it's a health stone every minute. Because 15% of your maximum health on a 30-second cooldown. And it does pretty decent damage. 632 is the current balancing amount. Raging Blow is, with what, Inner Rage anyway. Right? Raging Blow by itself is 652. Even putting it back on Inner Rage, Bloodthirst only 691. Impending Victory isn't even that far off in like a damage loss category. And it's going to be amplified by your Enrage window. So you're only going to lose that much damage, but you're going to heal yourself for a fair amount. And it's another small cooldown that you can use to not die. If you get a big dot on you or chunk to half health, you don't have Enrage Regeneration up. What do? Might as well take Impending Victory, because at least it's going to heal you for something. Otherwise, you're just going to get chunked. So then you have those on-demands to heal yourself. I mean, right now, that's 3,000 HP. With the amount of how damage is going to be scaling and changing in Battle for Azeroth, Arms Warrior gets the Tactician benefit, because it costs 10 rage to 9% chance to reset overpower. And Fury gets the ability that isn't that scaled far off to just fit in the Enrage window, so you're not losing a lot of damage, but also keeping yourself alive. Or at least helping keep yourself alive, because outside of Enrage Regen and maybe just personally using Rallying Cry to your own advantage to not die, well, that's never going to happen, right? It's always a raid cooldown. That's a really, really nice slight addition, because you had one defensive now at least you have 1.5. It's definitely not 2 defensives. 1.5 is still better than just 1. So when Stormbolt and Double Time will not do anything for you in a raid, you have that. But let me know in the comments down below what you think of the Fury Warrior in the slight updates that it has had so far in the Battle for Azeroth Alpha. I think some of these small tweaks so far are very, very nice, just as an overall update to the spec itself. We'll have to wait and see if we do get any major changes. Odin's Fury replacing Bladestorm, Dragon's Roar becoming an actual enrage mechanic, so it's a rotational enraging tool. Would be nice. Would be nice, because then you can enrage yourself at the bottom of your bar sometimes, depending on the encounter, and then build right back up. Thank you again for watching. Subscribe to my YouTube channel right here if you want to keep up to date with all of the testing yet to come in the first, second passes, island expeditions, and hopefully war fronts in the future. If you enjoyed this, you can then, of course, check out the Twitch channel where I do all the testing live and all the other side content that gets streamed over there. And, of course, hit me up on Twitter if you have any questions or anything like that. I'm not super unreachable. My Discord server is also down there, too. Whatever you'd like to do. Thank you very much for watching, and I will see you all in the next Battle for Azeroth First Pass. Mages are up next.